This is a Founding Media podcast.
Well, hi. Hello.
Hello.
Mike. Hello, Dana. How are you both today?
Extraordinary. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful.
Awesome.
I'm loving
wonderful.
life.
Aw, I feel that from you guys. I felt that the minute I saw you. I think, first of all, hello out there to everyone watching.
Hello.
Welcome to Up and Comers, by the way. This is a podcast that you're watching, the video version of it. With Up and Comers here in Austin, we are highlighting all of the amazing entities in the startup community, all the innovation, all the entrepreneurship. And on top of that, it is brought to you by Founding Austin Media. And we're just super happy to be here today. So I'm Heather, by the way, your host. And so Mike and Dana.
Yes.
You are here with MassChallenge Texas, which I know and love for many reasons, but most of all because you have such a great story as to how you came to Texas, how this organization came to Texas, and what you're doing. So I just want to start out with you guys. Can you jump in, tell us more about yourself, tell us more about the organization?
You want me to go?
You get to start. You're
I'll go.
You can start.
Yes. MassChallenge, founded 10 years ago now in Boston, Massachusetts, has since expanded to become a global organization. We have offices in Switzerland, Israel, Mexico City, 2 programs in Texas, plus 3 different programs in Boston. So that's a total of 8 accelerators a year. And how did we get to Texas? Well, MassChallenge was looking to expand, and they did a lot of research, and Texas just kept coming up in conversations. And it's no secret, Texas is a really awesome place to do business, to be creative. There's lots of resources, leader in economic development for more than the last 10 years across the entire country. And so they landed on Texas, and here we are. And thanks to our founding partners at USAA, Southwest Airlines, Upstream, WeWork, and TMAC. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to those 5. MassChallenge Texas exists, and we launched in 2017, October of 2017, here in Austin, and have since expanded to our second program in Houston.
You've been practicing that.
I've done that a lot, but I shamefully forgot TMAC, and I still love TMAC. They are wonderful, and if you don't know who they are, they help with manufacturing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Mike, tell us more about MassChallenge as an accelerator and what makes it different.
A lot of things. So the number one thing that I think we need to kind of communicate to let people know is MassChallenge is innovation at scale. So this isn't 1 company, 2 companies, 10 companies. This is 70 companies, 100 companies all at once going through the accelerator. Second thing is you have the community who picks who gets in. So what's cool is I don't pick who gets in. So people are always asking me, like, how come these companies are so great? Because I don't pick any of them. The community picks. So it's merit-based. You have an online application. High scores go to round 2. They come pitch in person to our experts. They score them again. And we're pretty selective. We got about a 10% acceptance rate with the entrepreneurs. The third thing is we're global. So all around the world, which is great. Dana just highlighted that. I think those 3 things, coupled with the fact that we don't take any equity, we're a nonprofit, actually makes it pretty desirable. I think MassChallenge Texas has a different kind of approach because we truly are trying to spearhead bringing the world to Texas to innovate. And because we don't take equity, it allows us to work with every other entity within the ecosystem without having any issues with valuation and whatnot.
Right. So just for our listeners and viewers, what kind of companies would typically apply for this? At what stage are they at?
The early stage, and we define early stage as less than $500,000 in funding and less than $1 million in revenue. But there's a little bit of flex on that because sometimes early stage companies like in healthcare or technology might be a little bit over that, but we look at that. And we're industry agnostic. So the other thing that's unique about MassChallenge is we look for the best companies that have the most impact, most high potential companies from around the world. We don't care what industry you're in. You can be social impact, you can be healthcare, you can be tech, you can be consumer, you can energy. Whatever it is, we want you here because that's what basically makes a difference in the diversification for the companies in our society.
Right. I think just on that topic, it's interesting because you're here in Austin now, you're in Houston, and there's been a vibe and a sense that there's a huge tech community in the city, and there is, but I feel like with the accelerator community, it's really shining a light on companies well beyond just tech. And so you guys have been opening your arms to all kinds of companies, and just this new cohort, for example, that you just announced. Tell us about the industries that have been selected, or even last year's cohort.
Yeah. So MassChallenge organizes, asks companies to organize themselves into one of 5 categories: high tech, healthcare and life sciences, energy and clean tech, general, retail, and go ahead, fill in the 5th one for me.
Social impact.
Social impact, yeah. I'm going to go to him for all my my number 5s going forward. And social impact. And so the startups actually get to say, hey, we are a high tech company, and then they can drill in a little bit further and say, their sub-industries are, I'm a software as a service platform in education. And so that's how they organize. As far as any trends that we've been seeing, I think high tech is by far the most populous group that we get applications from. But what I've really seen an uprising over the last year, these social impact companies that are coming in. And this year, social impact applications rose above clean tech, which was really interesting, I think.
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you say that there's a community behind MassChallenge that actually selects the participants. So tell us more about that. Is it your corporate partners? Is it the mentors that you bring into this? Who's in the community?
Yep. So the community consists of experts that we draw from our partners, from the media, from venture capitalists, serial entrepreneurs, other accelerators, corporations and whatnot. Some of them have special skills like CPAs. Some of them have legal skills and whatnot. We're trying to get folks that have a propensity to help these startups win. So it's not everybody gets to be an expert. You actually there is a bar where we're looking for folks that are successful in their field and have some kind of tie to help these folks succeed. What's unique about that is we have got over 500 that are dedicated just to Texas, but we have thousands of experts all around the world. So you can actually get an expert that's not in Texas to help your startup.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
Right.
So if you're looking for like a niche, particular solution, I need somebody who knows a lot about IP for healthcare and X, Y, and Z, and that person may be in Israel, we can find them and they can still, through the magic of technology, mentor you.
Right. So the people that are in this community also participate in the programming, right? So you bring in mentors. Tell us what it's like to involve the mentors on the day-to-day, or maybe what a day in the life looks like for a cohort member.
For a startup in the cohort, and how do they get attached? So we have an online system that, logistically speaking, allows the startups to go in and see who wants to be a mentor for a MassChallenge Texas startup, and they can search based on specific industry niche and say, I need someone who is an SEO expert with healthcare specificity, and then those people will rise up. And because of the community nature of what MassChallenge does, is the startups have the ability to just send an email or make the phone call, and 99.8% of the time it is returned, and the startups are able to engage. So a day in the life of the startup, they probably spend a lot of time on that platform researching who's coming in to speak, who they need to be connecting with, but also they spend a lot of time in curriculum being taught by those same experts who serve as mentors. Some of them also serve as curriculum facilitators. And we do two days a week of full days a week of curriculum. So that can be anywhere from 8 to 10 classes a week. And those are organized based on a facet of business, whether that's marketing, product development, things along that line. And then from there, we also work really hard to connect them with the community. And what that means is getting them in touch with our partners, getting them, the partners like our founding partners, getting them in touch with our community partners like other accelerators or VCs. And in addition to that, providing them with events and the opportunities to really forge those kinetic intersections where the magic happens.
Right. Right. Well, I think that's a really interesting point, is how you say you connect them with other accelerators, because you do see some of these companies doing multiple accelerators, going from one to the next. So I don't know if you could just speak a little bit about that and how that generally can work in this ecosystem, at least for Austin. Like, what levels are there in the accelerator world, and how do you go from one to the next and choose that path? How do you choose that path?
That's tough. So I think what, the vision that we had for MassChallenge Texas and why I took the job was I wanted it to be not MassChallenge Austin. I really wanted one to just experience drinking way too much coffee to stay awake and do MassChallenge Texas. So we wanted the world to come here to innovate. And part of that vision is making sure that we do whatever we can to help our startups win and our corporate partners succeed. So it may be that after MassChallenge, they might be a good fit for other accelerators in town. We do share information. We follow the GDPR now very closely, but we try to make sure that if it is a good fit, we want to make sure that they know about it. And some of them are ready for another one. Some may want to go to a Techstars. Some may want to go to Y Combinator. And we're very open about that. What we've done the last probably 3 weeks or so, I've answered a lot of questions about what should I be doing? Like, which one should I use? It's really up to that individual. And we just ask them the questions. Are you ready for this kind of programming? Is this what you're looking for at this stage of your journey? How much equity do you want to give up? Things like this to make sure that's a good fit. And some of them, they are ready and it's a good fit and we encourage them to go.
Yeah. That's another thing I've heard, especially talking to a lot of startups, is some are very afraid to give up equity. They're just really hesitant to do that. And so it's an interesting decision people have to make. So I think that's why MassChallenge offers such a great opportunity. It's like you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
But can you just talk more about that decision, I suppose, as to when a startup should really consider giving up a piece of that pie so that they can go forward at what point, and versus, because I know that's kind of next step from MassChallenge, but I'm just curious, from a startup perspective, what's the timeline on that? Like, at what point do you really need to consider it?
I think it's individual, so it's one of those classic it depends. My advice to folks is, where are you on that journey? What success and traction have you had to date? And are you ready to leverage this and put everything into the accelerator? Because if they're going to take equity, is this something you want to commit to go do X, Y, and Z? Some of them, they're not ready for that. They haven't really hit the milestones, and we kind of say maybe it's not something you should go do. But I do think there's a lot of them that do take equity, and that's still a fine model. It still works. Yeah. It's just really individual to them. Right. Are you ready to go commit to that? Because now they're on your cap table. Right. Most likely forever.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so pivoting this to another discussion then. So you started in Austin 2 years ago. You just announced that you're in Houston, and now you're in that market. So you really are branching out through Texas. Tell us more about the Houston expansion.
Houston was a lot of fun to launch. It really was.
That's true.
I think what's really awesome about what's happening in Houston is they're ready, and Houston has all of the resources that startups need to succeed. It's a global city. There are countless, over 50, maybe even 100 of the Fortune 1000 that reside in there. And so they have the resources already. What they really wanted the support with was bringing an organization in to be the catalyst to forge the community, to work together and to make Houston a destination for startups. So it's not just they're very much interested in the activity that's already happening there, but what they really were seeking from MassChallenge was bringing the world to Houston, because it is a global city. It offers so much.
Right. Yep. So I know in Austin you have a percentage of international companies in this year and last year's cohort, and many from around the country, which I think is another interesting thing for people to know. It's like this is open to anyone from anywhere. Yep. It's not just Texas, but you're coming to Texas to experience it. So where are you in the situation with Houston right now as far as the seeking of companies, and I tell us a little bit more about that, because I know you have some deadlines and announcements.
I will let Dana answer that, because she tells me what I can and cannot say about it.
I will say you should just check your email box and watch our Twitter in the coming weeks for some really big news. But we did finish all of the application recruiting. We recruited 286 startups for this first Houston accelerator, and now they are going through the judging process, and we will be announcing finalists in July. And then the accelerator will kick off very quickly thereafter. And this accelerator is much shorter than a traditional MassChallenge early stage accelerator. This one is actually a six-week boot camp that has 2 week-long intensives, one at the first week and one at the last week. And then similar to other programs, we will be having a celebration and showcase to support the startups and show off the 20 to 25 startups that were accepted into this program and highlight their accomplishments and our partners and how they supported making all of this happen.
Right. So Austin and Houston. Obviously, there's some other bigger markets in Texas too. So is there a broader vision?
Yes.
Okay, can we talk about it?
World domination. So we have, the whole plan was to go methodically grow within each of these markets and connect them very strategically. So Austin first, then Houston, and right now we're getting a lot of interest between San Antonio and Dallas. I always throw in El Paso because no one talks about El Paso, thanks to Dana.
El Paso is awesome.
Right.
It is there's a lot going on there, and I
There's a
think we
lot
just
there.
kind of forget about them because they're so far away, but there's things going on.
And we've had companies in both Austin accelerators from El Paso. I just want to put that out there.
So there is plans. Part of what we look for is a good base or anchor partner that can help us get it off the ground. So in Houston, we had Central Houston, and we collaborated with Midway and City of Houston and Greater Houston Partnership. We're looking for those kinds of partners initially in San Antonio and Dallas, and maybe even El Paso. And then over time, I think the vision is we can actually even look at some of the smaller cities and connect them as well. What we really need to do is make sure that when they come into the MassChallenge family, they have access to the VCs, to the partners, to the experts, to the alumni all over in every city.
Right.
What's been kind of plaguing us in Texas is that a lot of folks, including myself, knew what was going on in Austin, but I didn't really know what was going on in Dallas or Houston or San Antonio. And what we're trying to create is like we should be able to connect them and make them succeed by leveraging our huge network.
Yeah.
Like this is sort of silly. Like why are we competing amongst ourselves when we should just be one big ecosystem?
It's true. And Texas is such a big state. I think that's part of it. Just the sheer
big
size, right?
It's actually one of our biggest challenges when it comes to going out and meeting the startups during our application, or even just in general. You know, all throughout the year, we're out there meeting startups, getting to know these communities. But if you want to go to Houston, I mean, that's a 3-hour trip from Austin. If you want to go to El Paso and you're going to drive, that's a day-long drive, right? And even if you're going to fly, it's an 1.5 hour long flight. So I think in general, if you're not in Texas, you grossly underestimate the size and what it really takes to forge this, to make these things happen.
We've been using Von Lane. Von Lane would be a great partner. Von Lane.
Oh, Von Lane.
I know of this really cool Tesla startup coming out of UT.
Great partner. Just saying.
What about some MassChallenge Texas success stories so far from last year?
Let's see. I like to talk about Sempulse a lot. That's been a flagship. They won the award last year, did exceptional. It's a little device that monitors all kinds of human, I guess, your heart rate and your oxygen rate, all these things right behind the ear. And they've done well with funding, and they've actually had different applications they can apply not only to the military, but also children and normal folks, which is kind of cool. I don't know which other ones you're thinking of.
Mentor Method is another really great success story.
Yeah.
So their story is very interesting because she came in with little more than like an idea on a napkin. She had like a splash page and a founding partner deck. And she sat down and she said, these are all the people that I want to meet. And that woman knows how to hustle, and she's doing an awesome job. And now she has a pipeline of sales worth over $2 million. And she's done all this bootstrapped as pretty much a solo founder.
Year?
She's on fire.
She is on fire. She created the Austin Mosaic Awards.
It's impressive.
Yeah. And so they are a great success story. And I think what you'll see here is what we are defining as success is really indicated by the impact that these companies are having. Absolutely. Their revenue matters. And if they get funding to support their growth, that will. But what MassChallenge really looks for is like, how are these startups going to affect the lives of their audience? How are we going to make people live, work, and play differently? And Sempulse and Mentor Method are two really good examples of that happening.
And the other thing I think is cool is that when you look at how we look at that impact, it's kind of understanding where you are, just accepting where they are and where they can make that traction during the accelerator. So part of that, you may win, the ultimate prize, some of that equity-free, cash-free prize money, but it's not always like I have to go accomplish all these things. It's how far you've come.
Right.
And that's where the Mentor Method, obviously, Janice has just done amazing. She's crushed it.
Well, and clearly the cash prize at the end is a great incentive, but it's more the value of what I wouldn't say more, but it's equally the value that you get throughout the program because of all the things you take away, the contacts you make. And
so an example of that is EQO, who was another $100,000 prize winner last year. So their whole solution is environmental quality operations, what they're doing. And the first thing they're tackling is the zebra mussel problem.
I know, I love their company.
So when Austin was attacked by zebra mussels, EQO was able to help facilitate a solution for the city, and they sat in on those meetings and they were part of that. And another really interesting startup that I'm a big fan of. I don't have favorites, but I do have some that I'm a fan of. Vendor.
Love Vendor.
Vinder's
They've both
good.
been on the show, by the way, during South by. EQO and Vendor, ironically, out of all the we interviewed both
Sam
of
is
them.
great.
So Sam is another one who can hustle. And so he has an online farmers market that goes out to local farmers, urban farmers, and says, hey, I can help you sell your goods more fast with a delivery service. And now he's expanded and he's got presence as far north as Amarillo and even down a little bit, not as far as Houston, but a little bit further, and out to College Station and then out towards San Antonio. And it's been really interesting. And what I also really like about his platform is they offer education around like, why should I be buying apples from a local farmer other than supporting the local farmer? Well, did you know that apples are stored for a year underground before they get to you in the grocery store? When I found that out, I was like, okay, so let me download that app.
Did you guys take any options in the company when you were selling? Well, I'm trying to remember the language around this, but I bought about $200 worth when he was out on the street trying to sell, a way to support the company. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to hold on to my email about that because when I'm passing things on in the future to my kids are like, Vendor, remember this. I have a stake in this company.
Talk about a startup that knows how to take advantage of resources. Sam took advantage of everything, and you can really see his growth through that.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, then I have like one or two more questions, and certainly if you have anything else you want to bring up or talk about, please bring it up. But I guess my last question really is just, what is it that define success in the program? I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but some companies probably struggle with this too, because I'm sure it's a lot to take on once they commit their time to this. And so, I guess give maybe some examples of what would be a challenge a company could have while in the program, because it's probably good for people to think that through before they commit to it, right?
Right.
So what have you seen there?
We have them do a work plan, which is really what they want to do the next 120 days. Some of it may be get more customers. Some may develop a really good pitch deck. Obviously, I want to get funding. Some maybe just get myself organized with my IP and my legal docs and whatnot, get structured. Some of them may be I just want to figure out my marketing plan. I may want to go to my go-to-market plan. They all have different areas depending on what they really need. What we encourage them to do is just get honest, look in the mirror and say, like, what do you really need to improve? It's okay. You're in the safe space, right? You're at MassChallenge. So some of them may go, what I really need is I don't understand my financials. So we're going to encourage you to get a CPA and help you understand that and get QuickBooks or whatever you need to be successful. So it kind of depends, but most of them fall on, some kind of go-to-market, getting funding, or...
Ironically, some also come in to learn how to shut down gracefully.
No, that's true.
Wow.
We have had a couple of companies, some recently in this cohort, and then last year, one company just straight up imploded, and she rebuilt her company in the matter of 2 weeks in our conference rooms using our mentor network.
True.
And now she's out there raising money, building a new medical device, and really working to help her audience.
Yeah, the whole concept of mentorship like that, just having that accessibility, it makes all the difference for sure.
Yep.
So what else? Tell me.
All right, I got a couple things. So closing remarks. So one, I took the job for MassChallenge Texas, but I always want to highlight kind of like the idea of this all came from, believe it or not, Paul O'Brien. So Paul actually, when I met Paul almost 10 years ago plus.
And Paul O'Brien is with...
MediaTek
Ventures.
Yep,
just
good man.
Yeah.
And Paul had said, he was from California. We're not going to hold that back against him. But he said, like, why isn't this MassChallenge, or why isn't this like a Texas ecosystem? Why is there Austin? And he said, like, he didn't get it. And he's someone that, since the beginning, has kind of challenged us all to go, this should be something that we're connecting this entire market. This is the place where startups can come, get the resources and scale, not California.
Right.
And so I want to shout out to Paul. The other thing is, when I look at the funding aspect, this is what I drive home. We, as Texans, woefully underfund our startups at an order of magnitude less than the coast, than Boston, New York, and California. And we take too long to write too small a check. And then what we want to do with MassChallenge is bring in really good startups to make sure the funders see the best of the best. But that velocity needs to occur, and that's how you get the partners involved, the universities involved, the media involved. That's how you get success. Starts with the startups, but you've got to get that funding velocity. Because I think in Texas, we just take a long time to do certain things, and we got to change that a little bit. Anyway, that's me.
Wonderful. Anything?
My closing remarks?
Yes, closing remarks.
Yes, no pressure.
Well, I think from my perspective where I sit, what I find most unique about Texas as a whole is everyone's willingness to support everyone else. And it's, from the outside, I mean, I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a Northeast girl. Texas was never on my radar of places to live. And I was incredibly delighted, surprised and delighted when I arrived here in 2012 at first. And taking this job and in my role where my job is to connect the communities and to make sure startups and potential partners know about us, it's been really awesome to see the support across the entire state. MassChallenge is a very strong global brand, so that makes it a lot easier for us, but I believe that support exists no matter what. And that is just Southern hospitality is a real thing here, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, it's true. And we are both Polish from Pennsylvania, ended up in Texas.
Yes.
Just a little fact for everyone. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being a part of this. I know you guys have been interviewed in the magazine. We've had a lot of things that we've done together, a lot. And so just great to have you here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you.